Hey gang, Ubuntu Incorporated, this is Zealot Naga on the line with my military advisor, Master Minky. Today we're going to talk about tackling. This is a video that Rastovan has been bugging me about for a while, just asking how to do tackling properly, and so I wanted to share a few tips. Tackling is actually kind of an art. It can be quite complicated, but a good tackler makes a huge difference because they stay on point, and because without tacklers, you get no kills. And if you have good tacklers, you get lots of kills, and it just makes all the difference in the world. And the problem is that a lot of times the new players end up being the tacklers because tackling is the cheapest PvP role you can play. All you need is just to tech one frigate, and usually you need the more experienced players for DPS and logistics and ECM support, stuff like that. So the new players end up usually with a tackle job, which is actually one of the more difficult tasks. So it's one of the anomalies of EVE. The ones that actually need to be really smart end up being the ones that are least experienced. But hopefully I'll be able to tell you a few tips that will really help you out. Okay, tackling. First of all, use corp fittings. Guns don't matter so much. You want to have full tackle on your ship. That means a disruptor and a web. Most people fit on their tackling ship a scrambler. On frigates, I don't like scramblers, even though they fit better. And the problem is that the main job of frigates is actually tackling things on gates with their fast locking time. And for that, they need a disruptor because things spawn within 15 kilometers of a gate usually, and a scrambler is only good for 9. So you need to have a disruptor in most of the situations. Second, the web is super important. The web does not only slow the enemy down so everybody else can catch up with him, but also highly increases DPS from weapons like missiles and drones, and even guns because of tracking issues. So the web is super important. There is one fitting that we use in our corp fittings that has a scrambler, and that's an executioner. It's an MR frigate. I don't use Punishers. I don't recommend using Punishers as tacklers. Punishers are great, but they only have one min slot, and they're slow. So they're great, but it's a huge limitation. You really need 3 slots because the web is like a big issue if you don't have it. So I decided to go with Executioners because Executioner is actually really fast, and it's tiny. And if you overheat it, it can go over like 4,000 meters per second. So I put a scrambler on that thing, and that's basically the only time we use a scrambler on a tackler, unless we use heavy tackle, which have 2 points, 1 disruptor and 1 scrambler. And I'll explain what those are going to be used for later. It's kind of an overkill, but it's actually very important. So what are the tips with tackling? First of all, duck the guns. When you tackle, always take the 500-meter orbit around him. Second, turn off your micro warp drive. Micro warp drive blows up your signature radius. Makes it huge, 5 times greater. But when you're taking a tight orbit, you're not even using your full speed that your micro warp drive allows you. So if you have huge signature radius but slow speed, you're actually much easier to hit, and you'll die ridiculously faster, almost 2 to 3 times faster. So turn up your micro warp drive as soon as you get to the target. Second, the drones will kill you. The neutralizers will absolutely own you, and most times you will die within 20 seconds. But it's not a problem. Your only job is to hold the target down for 20 seconds so that the fleet can get on top of him. And if the fleet gets on top of him, then you're good to go. You did your job. You tackled the target, and then the target is probably going to be a much nicer ship than your little frigate, and the fleet was most likely going to kill him. The second thing about tacklers is that they need to be smart about switching what they tackle. Usually when we fly with new players, we tell them, whatever you're tackling, just stay on it, because we don't want to have any mistakes. But a good tackler, once they see that the fleet has managed to tie the target down, so like your fleet warps in and they start shooting the target, and now this target is all tackled. It has like 5 webs on it, a disruptor and a scrambler and all kinds of stuff on it, and they're shooting at it. There's no reason for you to keep tackling it. So you can switch to another target, and the hard part is that you need to look for a good target to tackle, and that can be difficult. So don't go for something that somebody else can tackle, like if it's in a big fleet fight. For something that's an optimal target to tackle is like a Falcon or like a logistics ship, something that's hard to catch for other ships, but for you it would be easy. And then you can just type into fleet chat, say I have this ship tackled, so the fleet commander knows, and they can switch the targets to there once the current primary goes down. So that's a really hard skill, actually, knowing when to switch tackle. And so we don't recommend it early on, because if you let it off too early, the target escapes. Or if you miscalculate, if you know there's Falcons on the field that can target jam, then you need to stay on the same target as well, because if the fleet loses points, then the target is gone. So that's really hard to learn, and it requires you to know the ship types, to know the ship speeds, and to know basically when to activate your stuff. But a good tackler will switch after the main target is tackled by the main fleet. So then the other thing that I want to tell you is this maneuver that is going to be part of the scholarship. I think I'll add it tomorrow. It's called push and glove. It's a gate maneuver that we need to perfect, because it happens all the time, and in many fleet situations it's just absolutely necessary to be executed precisely. So here's the scenario. The fleet lands on a gate, and there's a target on the gate. What do you do? A stupid thing to do is to shoot the target. Why? Because the target jumps through the gate, and then nobody else can follow them, and they're safe to go. So the other dumb thing to do is just for everybody to jump through, because then the target just turns around and leaves that gate, and then everybody's on the other side. So what you have to do is you have to have one player push the target through the gate. To push means basically you try to force them to go through the gate. And to glove, it means to catch the target on the other side. So the way you usually do it is you have heavy tackler pushing. You just start basically attacking the target, and the light tacklers jump through and reapproach the gate on the other side, and they just wait. And they wait for the target to come through. If the target jumps, then the rest of the fleet jumps with them, with the light tacklers already prepared and in position to tackle them. Then they go down quickly. What is a heavy tackler needs to be doing? The heavy tackler needs to be pushing the other target, means shooting that, but that's not it. They also need to try to bump the target off the gate, because if they bump it off the gate and they have it tackled, it can't jump through the gate. All you got to do is keep it 2.5 kilometers away, and sometimes that's easy to do. So if you have a fleet and they're all like bumping the target, you can bump it off the gate, you can shoot it right there. So knowing how to push and how to glove and when to do it, coordinating with other pilots, is actually pretty difficult, especially if you're chasing a target like a Vagabond, which is really hard to catch. So it needs to be coordinated. Usually the FC will tell like so-and-so push, everybody else stay on the gate. The light tackler jump through. The reason why the fleet commander tells you to jump through, because you need to be waiting for the target on the other side, and your job then is to tackle him off the gate, on his way to the gate. And if he reapproaches and jumps out, that's okay, because the fleet is waiting for him on the other side. So the fleet should not jump until the moment the tacklers tell him we got the target tackled and off the gate. So it's a pretty sophisticated maneuver. It gets more complicated when you have two fleets basically meet on the gate, because it's a standoff. Nobody wants to fire first, because once you start firing, you lose your ability to retreat. And so you basically what you want to do is you want to force the enemy to aggro their expensive ships, and use your inexpensive ships first to force them basically to fire the inexpensive ones, and then you pull in your expensive ones, and then you can wipe their fleet out, because you will trade basically crappy ship for a good ship really fast. So how do you prevent that from happening? Like basically, you're landing on the gate and there's a fleet there, and they're not firing; they're just waiting right away. So what you do is the heavy tackler, it's the same thing. Heavy tacklers push, light tacklers jump through. The rest of the fleet does not engage. What is the rest of the fleet waiting for? It's waiting for the enemy fleet to start firing at the heavy tacklers, which is why heavy tackler has 2 points. One scrambler to push, and one disruptor. Alright, I'm quickly running out of time here, so more later. Alright guys, push and glove, remember.